The diner smelled like burnt coffee and regret at 2 a.m. I wiped down the same sticky table for the third time, my lower back screaming in protest. The fluorescent lights above buzzed like angry wasps, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow that made even the youngest customers look half dead. My reflection in the chrome napkin dispenser showed a 24-year-old woman who could pass for 35 on a bad day. Today was a bad day. Every day was a bad day. "Sweetheart, can I get a warm-up?" Old Jim called from his usual corner booth, his liver-spotted hands trembling around an empty mug. "Comin', Jim." My voice came out hoarse. I'd been on my feet for 11 hours straight, covering Sarah's shift because she'd called in sick again. The tips tonight barely covered my bus fare home. The bell above the door chimed, letting in a gust of February wind that cut straight through my thin uniform. I didn't look up immediately. Another customer was just another face, another order, another $1 or $2 if I was lucky. But something made the air in the diner change. It was like the temperature dropped 10 degrees, or maybe the oxygen got thinner. I turned. 3 men walked in, and they didn't belong. Not here, not in this grease-stained corner of the city where even the rats looked ashamed. The first 2 were mountains in tailored suits, their eyes scanning the room with the mechanical precision of security cameras. But it was the third man who made my breath catch somewhere between my lungs and my throat. He moved like darkness given form, his long black coat catching the light in ways that made it seem alive. Even from across the room, I could smell him. Something expensive and dangerous, like leather and smoke and money I'd never touch. His face was all sharp angles and shadows, a jawline that could cut glass, and eyes so dark they looked like they could swallow the world. Those eyes found mine. For a moment that stretched into eternity. We were locked in something I couldn't name. My hand tightened around the coffee pot until my knuckles went white. He didn't smile, didn't nod, just looked at me with an intensity that made me feel naked despite my buttoned-up uniform. "Seat yourselves," I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. They took the booth by the window, the one that gave a clear view of the entire diner and both exits. The 2 suited men sat with their backs to the walls, but the dark one, the one who made my stomach flip and my instincts scream run, he sat facing me. I approached their table on legs that felt like overcooked spaghetti. "What can I get you, gentlemen?" Up close, he was even more devastating. A thin scar traced his left cheekbone, and his hands, resting casually on the table, looked like they could break bones without effort. But it was the weight of his presence that really got me, like gravity itself bent around him. Coffee. Black. His voice was velvet, wrapped around steel. Italian accent. Subtle but unmistakable. "Same," the 2 mountains echoed. My hand shook as I poured, a few drops splashing onto the table. "Sorry, You look tired." It wasn't a question. His eyes traveled over my face with an assessment that felt almost clinical. "How long have you been working?" "I'm fine. Can I get you anything else?" I tried to smile, but my face felt like it was cracking. Before he could answer, my phone buzzed in my apron pocket. I shouldn't have looked. Customers first, always. But something made me pull it out. The screen showed 3 missed calls from my neighbor, Mrs. Chen. My blood turned to ice. "I'm sorry, I started backing away from the table, but my manager's voice cut through the diner like a knife. "Marissa, what the hell do you think you're doing?" Frank stormed over, his face red and bloated with rage. He'd been waiting for an excuse to fire me, I knew. I was too slow, too clumsy, too tired all the time. "My phone. You need to do your damn job." He grabbed my wrist, hard enough to bruise. "I don't pay you to..." The dark man stood up. He didn't make a sound, didn't say a word, but Frank's grip on my wrist loosened immediately. The entire diner seemed to hold its breath. Even the buzzing fluorescent lights seemed to quiet. "She needs to take this call. Still velvet, still steel." But now there was something underneath, a promise of violence so casual it was terrifying. Frank went pale. Yeah, of course. Take your time, Marissa." I didn't question it. Didn't think. I just ran to the back, my fingers trembling as I called Mrs. Chen back. "Marissa, Thank God, it's Tommy. He's burning up with fever, and he's asking for you. I gave him the medicine, but he won't stop crying. My 4-year-old son, my entire world. I'm coming. 20 minutes, please, just keep him cool, I'm coming. I hung up and ripped off my apron, my mind already calculating bus routes and whether the late-night pharmacy would still be open. Tommy's father had left before he was even born, leaving me with nothing but debt and a baby I loved more than breathing. We lived in a 1-bedroom apartment that smelled like mold, and I worked 3 jobs to keep us fed. But when Tommy was sick, nothing else mattered. I burst back into the diner, heading straight for the door. Marissa! Frank's voice was sharp, but I didn't care. Fire me. Call the police. I didn't care about anything except getting to my son. I made it 3 steps outside before a hand caught my arm, gentle this time, but unmovable. Where are you going at this hour? The dark man's voice came from directly behind me, close enough that I could feel the warmth of his breath on my neck. My son. He's sick. I need to. I tried to pull away, but he held firm. You don't have a car. It wasn't a question. The bus runs every 30 minutes. I just need to. Marco. He didn't raise his voice, but one of the suited mountains appeared beside us instantly. Bring the car around. No, I can't. I don't even know you. He finally released my arm, but his eyes held me more effectively than any physical grip. Your son is sick. You're clearly exhausted. It's the middle of the night in one of the worst neighborhoods in the city. Let me help you. Every instinct I had screamed that this man was dangerous, that accepting anything from him would be a mistake I'd regret forever. But Tommy's feverish cries echoed in my mind, and the bus stop was 6 blocks away through streets where women disappeared. Why? I whispered. Why would you help me? Something flickered across his face, too fast for me to read. Because you look like you need it. The car that pulled up wasn't a car. It was a statement. Black, sleek, and armored. It looked like it cost more than I'd earn in 10 lifetimes. The door opened, and the dark man gestured for me to get in. I hesitated for only a second before climbing inside. The interior smelled like expensive leather and danger. I gave him my address, my voice barely steady, expecting judgment. He just nodded and spoke to the driver in rapid Italian. We drove in silence through streets I'd walked 1,000 times, but they looked different from behind bulletproof glass. I should have been terrified. I should have been planning my escape. Instead, I found myself studying him in the shadows, the way his jaw tightened when we passed a particularly dark alley, the way his hand rested near his waist where I suspected a gun lived. What's your son's name? He asked suddenly. Tommy. He's 4. He's everything. And his father? Gone. Before Tommy was even born, I don't know why I told him. Maybe exhaustion made me honest. Maybe I just needed to say it out loud to someone who wouldn't judge. I work 3 jobs. The diner, cleaning offices at night, weekend shifts at a laundromat. It's not enough, but I'm trying. I'm trying so hard. My voice cracked, and I hated myself for it. You're a good mother. His voice was softer now, almost gentle. That's obvious. We pulled up to my building, a crumbling brick structure that looked like one strong wind would knock it over. I could see Mrs. Chen's window, light still on, and my heart clenched. Thank you. Really, I don't know how to repay you. I reached for the door handle, but his voice stopped me. Marissa. The way he said my name, like he'd been practicing it, like it meant something, made my skin prickle with awareness. How did you know my name? He smiled, and it was the most dangerous thing I'd ever seen. Your name tag. Of course. Stupid. Take care of your son. And Marissa? He leaned forward, close enough that I could count the flecks of gold in those impossibly dark eyes. Call in sick tomorrow. Actually rest. Your manager won't give you any trouble. Before I could ask what he meant, before I could process the threat wrapped in concern, I was out of the car and running up the stairs to my son. Tommy was burning up in Mrs. Chen's arms, his little face flushed and wet with tears. Mama. I'm here, baby. Mama's here. I spent the rest of the night in a haze of cold compresses and children's medicine, watching Tommy's fever slowly break as dawn crept through our thin curtains. He finally fell asleep around 6 a.m., his small hand clutching my fingers. I should have felt relief. I should have felt grateful. Instead, I felt haunted by dark eyes and a voice like velvet over steel, and the terrifying certainty that accepting his help had been the biggest mistake of my life. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. "Your son will be fine. Rest today. Someone will cover your shifts." I stared at the message until my vision blurred, my heart hammering against my ribs. How did he have my number? I didn't go to work that day. Not because some stranger with eyes like a winter night told me not to. At least, that's what I told myself. I stayed home because Tommy needed me, because his fever spiked again around noon, because I was a good mother who put her son first. The fact that my hands trembled every time I thought about that text message was irrelevant. By evening, Tommy was finally sleeping peacefully, his breathing steady and deep. Mrs. Chen had brought over homemade soup, asking careful questions about the nice man in the fancy car that I deflected with practiced ease. I'd gotten good at keeping secrets, at building walls around the parts of my life that hurt too much to examine, but I couldn't stop thinking about him. The way he'd commanded the room without raising his voice, the casual violence promised in his stillness, the gentleness in his tone when he'd asked about Tommy. Men like that didn't exist in my world. Men with power and money who noticed waitresses drowning in exhaustion. Men who helped without demanding payment, except he would demand payment, eventually. Men always did. My phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. "How is your son?" I should have blocked it. Should have ignored it. Instead, my traitorous fingers typed back, "Better. Thank you for asking." 3 dots appeared immediately, disappeared, appeared again. "Good. Take tomorrow off as well. Your manager has been informed." A chill ran down my spine. What did you do? Nothing he didn't deserve. Rest, Marissa. I stared at his message for a long time, my mind spinning through possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. What did informed mean in his world? Frank was an asshole, but he didn't deserve, what, a broken kneecap? A threat? A visit from men in expensive suits who spoke in Italian? I need to work. I have bills. Consider yourself on paid leave. The money will be in your account by morning. My breath caught. I can't accept that. I don't even know your name. A longer pause this time. Dante. Just that. Nothing else. Like his name was explanation enough, justification enough, absolution enough for whatever the hell was happening. Dante, I appreciate what you did, but I can't take money from... You can. You will. Your son needs you healthy. You're no good to him if you collapse from exhaustion. Why do you care? I hit send before I could stop myself, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared 4 times. When his response finally came, it was just 2 words. I don't know. Something about that honesty, raw and unexpected, made my chest tighten. This was insane. I was texting with a stranger who was clearly dangerous, clearly powerful, clearly way out of my league in every conceivable way. I should block him, call the police, pack up Tommy, and disappear. Instead, I fell asleep with my phone clutched in my hand, dreaming of dark eyes and the smell of expensive cologne. The money appeared in my account the next morning. $5,000. I stared at my phone screen until the numbers blurred together, my coffee going cold in my trembling hand. $5,000. That was 3 months of rent. That was Tommy's medical bills paid. That was food and electricity and maybe, just maybe, a winter coat that actually kept out the cold. That was also a chain around my neck, whether I could see it yet or not. This is too much, I texted, my fingers clumsy with panic. It's nothing. It's everything to me. Then let me give it to you. I spent the entire day in a state of suspended anxiety, jumping at every sound, expecting men in suits to break down my door with demands and threats. But nothing happened. Tommy played with his toys, oblivious to my spiraling thoughts. Mrs. Chen brought over more soup. The sun set on another day in my small, struggling life. Except now there was a crack in the wall I'd built around myself, and darkness was seeping through. That night my phone rang, not a text, an actual call. The unknown number. My hand shook as I answered. "Hello? Marissa." That voice, warm and dangerous, wrapping around my name like possession. "How are you feeling?" "I'm fine. Tommy's fine." "You didn't have to." "I know I didn't have to. I wanted to." A pause, filled with something heavy. "Have dinner with me tomorrow night." It wasn't a question, but it wasn't quite a command either. Something in between, like he was testing whether I'd say yes willingly or if he'd need to push. "I don't think that's a good idea." "Why not?" "Because I don't know you. Because you're clearly not—" I stopped, biting back the words. "Not safe. Not normal. Not someone I should let into my life." "Not what?" His voice held amusement now, dark and rich. "Not someone who has dinner with waitresses from shitty diners." He laughed, and the sound did something dangerous to my insides. "You'd be surprised what I do, Piccola. Say yes. I have a son. I can't just bring him." That stopped me cold. Men didn't want to have dinner with single mothers and their 4-year-olds. Men wanted easy, uncomplicated, child-free. I'd learned that lesson too many times. "You don't want a kid at dinner." "I want you at dinner. If that means your son comes too, then he comes." Something shifted in his voice, went harder. "I don't make offers twice, Marissa. Yes or no." Every rational part of my brain screamed no. This was dangerous. This was stupid. This was how women ended up on the news with their photos flashing across TV screens while reporters talked about poor decisions and warning signs. Where? The word escaped before I could stop it. "I'll pick you up at 7. Wear something comfortable." He hung up before I could change my mind. I spent the next day in a haze of second-guessing and panic. What did something comfortable mean to a man who drove armored cars and had bodyguards? I owned exactly 3 outfits that weren't stained or worn through. A dress I'd worn to a cousin's wedding 3 years ago, jeans with only a small hole in the knee, and the black pants I wore to job interviews. I chose the jeans and my nicest sweater, a soft gray thing I'd found at Goodwill. Tommy wore his fancy clothes, khakis that were getting too short and a button-up shirt with a juice stain I'd managed to mostly scrub out. "Where we going, Mama?" Tommy asked for the 100th time, bouncing with excitement. He so rarely got to go anywhere except daycare and the park. "Dinner with a friend." "Do I know him?" "No, baby, but he seems nice." The lie tasted bitter on my tongue. At exactly 7, my phone buzzed. I'm outside. I looked out the window and immediately regretted every decision that had led to this moment. The same black car from before sat at the curb, looking obscenely expensive against the backdrop of our crumbling neighborhood. People were already staring. "Come on, Tommy." I took his small hand in mine, my heart hammering. Dante was leaning against the car, and in the evening light, he looked even more devastating than I remembered. Black jeans, a dark shirt that probably cost more than my monthly rent, and that same aura of controlled danger that made my survival instincts scream. But when he saw Tommy, something in his face softened. "You must be Tommy." He crouched down to my son's level, and I noticed, really noticed, the gun at his waist, barely concealed. Tommy, fearless as always, grinned. "I'm 4. How old are you?" "Very old," Dante said seriously. 36. "Wow, that's like 100. Dante's lips twitched. Exactly like 100. His eyes lifted to mine, and the intensity there made my breath catch. "Marissa, you look beautiful." I absolutely did not look beautiful. I looked tired and cheap and completely out of place, but something about the way he said it made me feel like maybe, for just a moment, I could believe him. "Where are we going?" I asked as he opened the door for us. "You'll see." The drive took us out of the city, through neighborhoods that got progressively nicer, until we were in a part of town I'd only ever seen in movies. Tommy pressed his nose to the window, exclaiming over every big house and fancy car. We pulled up to a restaurant that didn't have a sign, just a discreet door with a suited man standing guard. He nodded at Dante with obvious respect, tinged with fear. "Signor Valentini. Valentini." So now I had a last name to go with the danger. Inside was like stepping into another world. Soft lighting, classical music, and the kind of quiet that only came from serious money. Every head turned as we entered, but Dante didn't seem to notice or care. He led us to a private room in the back, away from prying eyes. Tommy's eyes went wide. "Mama, this place is fancy. Best behavior, baby," I whispered, my own eyes adjusting to the opulence. Dinner was surreal. Dante ordered in Italian, and plates of food appeared that looked too beautiful to eat. Tommy dug in with 4-year-old enthusiasm, getting sauce on his chin and chattering about his favorite cartoons. And Dante, this man who radiated violence and power, listened with what seemed like genuine interest. "Do you have kids?" Tommy asked around a mouthful of pasta. "Tommy, don't talk with your mouth full," I corrected automatically. Dante's expression darkened for just a moment. "No. No children." "Why not? Kids are great." "Tommy," I started, but Dante held up a hand. "You're right. Kids are great. I just haven't found the right person yet." His eyes met mine over Tommy's head, and something passed between us. Something heavy and complicated and terrifying. After dinner, Tommy fell asleep in the car, exhausted from excitement and a full stomach. Dante carried him up to my apartment without being asked, his movements careful and gentle, despite the obvious strength in his arms. I unlocked the door, hyper-aware of how small and shabby everything looked through his eyes. The peeling wallpaper, the thrift store furniture, the toys scattered across the floor. "His room," Dante whispered. I led him to the tiny bedroom Tommy and I shared, watching as he laid my son down with surprising tenderness. Tommy didn't even stir. Back in the living room, the air felt electric, dangerous. "Thank you for tonight," I said, my voice barely steady. "Tommy had a wonderful time, and you?" He stepped closer, and my back hit the wall. "Did you have a wonderful time, Marissa?" Yes, but I still don't understand why I'm interested in you." He was so close now I could feel the heat of his body. "Neither do I. You should terrify me. You should be a complication I can't afford." And yet, his hand came up, fingers barely grazing my cheek. I should have pulled away, should have told him to leave. Instead, I leaned into his touch like a flower reaching for sunlight. "Yet here I am," he finished, his voice rough. "Here I am, wanting something I have no right to want." "What do you want?" The question came out breathless. His thumb traced my bottom lip, his eyes following the movement with an intensity that made my knees weak. "Everything. I want everything, Piccola, and that should scare you." "It does," I whispered. "You terrify me." "Good." He leaned in, his lips a breath away from mine. "Fear will keep you smart, but don't let it keep you away from me. Promise me." "I can't promise that. I don't even know what you are." His smile was all edges. "Yes, you do. You knew the moment I walked into that diner. You just don't want to admit it." He was right. God help me, he was right. "Dante." "Shh." His forehead touched mine, and we stood there, breathing the same air, balanced on the edge of something that would either save me or destroy me. "I'll go, but I'll be back. And next time, Marissa, next time you won't tell me to leave." He pulled away, and the loss of his warmth felt like abandonment. At the door, he turned back one last time. "Lock this behind me. All 3 locks. And Marissa, if anyone bothers you, anyone at all, you call me immediately. Understood?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. After he left, I did lock all 3 locks. Then I slid down the door to the floor, my whole body trembling with fear and want, and the terrible certainty that I'd just invited the devil into my life. And the worst part? I wasn't sure I wanted to send him back. 3 days passed without a word from Dante, and I told myself I was relieved. I went back to work at the diner, enduring Frank's newfound nervousness around me with grim satisfaction. Whatever Dante had said or done, it had worked. Frank practically tripped over himself to give me the better shifts, the easier sections. The other waitresses noticed, their whispers following me like flies. But it was the men in suits who really made my skin crawl. They came in every shift now, always 2 of them, always sitting in the corner booth with perfect sightlines to the entire diner. They never ordered more than coffee, never spoke to me directly, just watched with the cold professionalism of guard dogs. Who are they? Sarah whispered during a lull, her eyes darting to the corner. I don't know. Another lie. I was getting too good at those. They're here for you, Marissa. Everyone can see it. What did you do? Are you in trouble? Yes, I wanted to say. I'm in so much trouble I can't even see the bottom anymore. Instead, I just shrugged and refilled coffee cups, feeling the weight of their surveillance like a hand on my neck. The text came during my break, while I was in the back alley trying to catch my breath and ignore the February cold seeping through my thin jacket. You're being followed. My heart stopped. By who? Not by me. Someone else. Someone who shouldn't be watching you. I looked around the alley, suddenly seeing shadows everywhere. What do? Stay inside the diner. My men are there. You're safe. I'm coming. 20 minutes later, Dante's car pulled up to the front entrance. He didn't come inside, just sent one of his suited mountains to collect me. Frank didn't even try to stop me this time, just went pale and looked away. I'm in the middle of a shift, I protested weakly, as strong hands guided me toward the door. Not anymore, the mountain rumbled. Dante was in the back seat, and the fury rolling off him was almost visible. His jaw was tight, his hands clenched, and those dark eyes burned with something that made my stomach drop. Who's following me? I asked, as the car pulled away from the curb. That's what I'm trying to find out. His voice was clipped, controlled. Tell me everything. Has anyone approached you? Asked questions about you? About Tommy? No, wait. My blood turned to ice. 2 days ago, there was a man. Outside Tommy's daycare. He was just standing there, watching the kids play. Mrs. Patterson, the director, she asked if he was picking up, and he left. I thought it was nothing. Dante's expression went absolutely glacial. Describe him. Tall, maybe 40. Dark hair, scar on his hand. I noticed because he was smoking and the way he held the cigarette. Cazzo. He pulled out his phone, barking orders in rapid Italian. Then his eyes found mine, and I saw something I hadn't seen before. Genuine fear. Not for himself, for me. Marissa, I need you to listen very carefully. The man watching you, he's connected to something from my past, something dangerous. What kind of dangerous? Dante, what the hell is going on? He was quiet for a long moment, his jaw working like he was chewing on words too sharp to swallow. 4 years ago, one of my men betrayed me, stole from me, cost me someone important. His voice dropped, went rough. His name was Marcus Webb. The name meant nothing to me. Should it have? Marcus disappeared before I could handle the situation. I've been looking for him ever since. Dante's hand found mine, his grip almost painful. Marissa, what was Tommy's father's name? The world tilted sideways. Marcus, I whispered. Marcus Webb. The silence in the car was deafening. Oh God. My voice broke. Oh God, you knew. You knew who I was. That night at the diner. It wasn't random, was it? You were looking for him. You were... No. He pulled me closer, his other hand cupping my face with desperate intensity. No, Piccola. I swear on my life I didn't know. Not then. I found out after. After I'd already... He stopped, his forehead pressing against mine. After I'd already fallen. Fallen? I tried to pull away, but he held firm. Don't lie to me. Not now. I'm not lying. That night, I saw a woman who looked dead on her feet, trying to hold her world together with willpower and prayer. I saw someone who needed help, and for reasons I still don't understand, I wanted to be the one to help her. His thumb traced my cheekbone. It was only after, when I had my people look into you for protection purposes, that I found the connection to Marcus. Protection from what? From me. His smile was bitter. From the kind of man who doesn't let betrayal go unpunished, who destroys anyone connected to his enemies. The implication hit me like a freight train. Tommy. You're saying Marcus betrayed me, stole $2 million and information that got my younger brother killed. The grief in his voice was raw, real. Antonio was 22. He died because of what Marcus did. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. And Tommy is innocent, a child. not responsible for his father's sins. Dante's voice hardened. But there are others in my organization who won't see it that way, who will see him as leverage, as a way to draw Marcus out. So all of this, the dinner, the money, the protection, it was about using us as bait. It was about keeping you safe. His voice rose, echoing in the confined space. When I realized who you were, who Tommy was, I should have walked away, should have let my men handle it. But I couldn't. His hands framed my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. I couldn't because every time I looked at you, I saw someone worth protecting. Someone worth— He cut himself off, but the word hung between us anyway. Keeping. This is insane, I whispered. This whole thing is insane. I need to get Tommy and leave, disappear. Change our names. Something. You can't run from this. Marcus's enemies, my enemies, they're already watching. The moment you try to leave, they'll know. They'll follow. And then you'll be alone, unprotected, easy prey. As opposed to what? Staying here, playing house with the Mafia boss who wants my son's father dead? The words came out harsher than I intended, but they were true. All of it was true. Dante's expression shuddered. I want you safe, both of you. That's all that matters now. Why? I pushed at his chest, needing space, needing air. Why do you care? You don't know us. We're nothing to you. You're not nothing. The words came out fierce, almost angry. You haven't been nothing since the moment I saw you. And I know this is wrong. I know I should let you go, should put distance between us, but I can't. His hands moved to my shoulders, gripping tight. I won't. You don't get to decide that. I'm deciding it anyway. His voice dropped, went dangerously soft. You and Tommy are under my protection now, whether you like it or not, whether you want it or not. And anyone who tries to hurt you will answer to me. It should have sounded threatening. It should have made me furious. Instead, some broken part of me felt relief. The car stopped in front of a building I'd never seen before. Sleek, modern, completely unlike my crumbling apartment building. Where are we? Somewhere safe. I'm having your things moved here. You and Tommy will stay until this is resolved. You can't just kidnap us. I'm not kidnapping you. I'm protecting you. He opened the car door, his expression brooking no argument. There's a difference. Not from where I'm standing, but I got out of the car anyway, because what choice did I have? Going home meant putting Tommy at risk. Running meant being hunted. At least here, with Dante. I knew what the danger looked like. The penthouse was obscene. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Furniture that probably cost more than I'd earn in a lifetime, and enough space for 10 families. It was beautiful, and cold, and utterly wrong for someone like me. Tommy's room is down the hall, second door. I had it stocked with toys and clothes in his size. Dante watched me take it all in, his expression unreadable. Your room is across from his. Anything you need? Just ask. What about what I need? I turned to face him, anger finally breaking through the shock. Which is for my son to be safe, for our lives to be normal, for none of this to be happening. I can't give you normal, Marissa. Normal ended the moment Marcus chose betrayal over loyalty. He stepped closer, and I hated how my body responded, how some treacherous part of me wanted to lean into his strength. But I can give you safe. I can give you protected. And if you let me, if you trust me, I can give you more than you've ever had. I don't want your money. I'm not talking about money. His hand came up, fingers threading through my hair with possessive gentleness. I'm talking about someone in your corner. Someone who will burn the world down before letting it hurt you. Someone who sees you, Marissa, really sees you. You don't know me. I know you work yourself to exhaustion for your son. I know you're proud and stubborn and scared of asking for help. I know you haven't bought yourself new clothes in years because every penny goes to Tommy. I know you cry in the shower so he won't hear you. His thumb brushed away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. I know you, Piccola. Maybe better than you want me to. This is crazy, I whispered. But I didn't pull away. We barely know each other. You're dangerous. This whole situation is— I know. His forehead touched mine again, and I was starting to recognize this gesture as his version of vulnerability. But crazy or not, Dangerous or not, you're mine now. Both of you. And I protect what's mine. I'm not yours. Not yet. His lips brushed my temple, soft and promising, but you will be. A phone rang, breaking the moment. Dante answered in Italian, his expression darkening with each word. When he hung up, his eyes found mine with grim certainty. Marcus contacted one of my people. He wants to meet. My heart stuttered. Why? He says he wants to negotiate, says he has information I need. Dante's jaw tightened. Says he wants to see his son. The room spun. He left us. He left before Tommy was even born. He doesn't get to. I know, Piccola. I know. Dante pulled me against his chest, and I let him, needing the solid warmth of him to keep from flying apart. But this might be our chance to end this, to make you and Tommy safe. By meeting with him. That's insane. He's dangerous. So am I. The words were simple, factual. And unlike Marcus, I keep my promises. I promise to protect you. I intend to keep that promise. What if it's a trap? Then I'll spring it. He tilted my chin up, forcing me to meet his eyes. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that? I should have said no. Should have grabbed Tommy and run despite the danger. Should have done anything except stand there, drowning in dark eyes and dangerous promises. I don't know, I whispered honestly. Then learn. He kissed my forehead, lingering. Because I'm not going anywhere, Marissa. And neither are you. He left me standing in that enormous penthouse, staring out at a city I'd lived in my whole life, but suddenly felt foreign. Somewhere out there, Marcus was planning something. Somewhere out there, enemies I didn't know were watching. And somewhere in my chest, my heart was doing something incredibly stupid. It was falling for the monster who'd caged me. Even if the cage was gilded, even if the monster had gentle hands. I checked on Tommy, still sleeping peacefully in Mrs. Chen's care, unaware that his entire world had shifted. I'd have him brought here tomorrow, would explain it as an adventure, would do whatever I needed to keep him innocent just a little longer. But tonight, alone in this beautiful prison, I finally let myself cry for the life I'd never have, for the normal I'd lost, for the dangerous, impossible thing growing between Dante and me that would either save us or destroy us. I was betting on destruction. I usually was. The meeting was set for 3 days later, in a warehouse on the docks that Dante controlled. Those 3 days felt like living in a fever dream. Tommy adjusted to the penthouse with the easy resilience of childhood, treating it like an extended play date. Mrs. Chen came daily, her questions careful but pointed. I deflected them all, building walls faster than she could scale them. And Dante was everywhere and nowhere. He'd appear in the mornings with breakfast, play cards with Tommy on the living room floor, then disappear into his office for hours, with men in suits who looked at me with calculation I didn't trust. At night, he'd find me on the balcony, staring at the city lights, and we'd stand in silence that said more than words ever could. You should hate me, he said on the second night, his voice rough with something that sounded like regret. I should, I agreed. But I don't. I don't know what that makes me. Smart. His hand found mine in the darkness. Hate would be easier. Safer. Nothing about this is safe. No, he agreed, but it's real. I didn't know what to do with that. With him. With the way my body betrayed me every time he was near. The way Tommy had started calling him Mr. Dante, with obvious affection. The way I'd started thinking of this cage as home. On the morning of the meeting, Dante found me in Tommy's room, watching my son sleep. The sun was barely up, painting everything in shades of gold and shadow. He looks like you, Dante said quietly from the doorway. He has Marcus's eyes. The admission tasted bitter. Eyes don't make a person. You're raising him to be good, kind. That's all you, Piccola. I turned to face him, taking in the dark suit, the gun at his hip, the tension radiating from his shoulders. You're going to kill him, aren't you, Marcus? Dante didn't lie. If I have to. And if Tommy asks about his father someday, what do I tell him? The truth. He stepped into the room, keeping his distance from Tommy's bed. That his father made choices that hurt people. That actions have consequences, that you protected him the only way you could. by letting a Mafia boss murder his father, by letting a man who loves you keep you both safe. The words hung in the air like a confession. Yes, Marissa, I love you. I know it's insane. I know it's too fast, too complicated, too wrong. But I've never been good at following rules. My breath caught. You don't, I do. He closed the distance between us, his hands framing my face with desperate tenderness. I've tried not to. God knows I've tried. But every time you look at me like I'm not a monster, every time you trust me with your son, every time you don't run even though you should, I fall harder. Dante, I don't expect you to say it back. I don't even expect you to believe me. But I needed you to know before... He stopped, jaw tightening. Before what? Before you walk into what might be a trap? Before you leave me here wondering if you're coming back? I'm coming back. He said it like a vow. I will always come back to you. He kissed me then, and it wasn't gentle. It was claiming and desperate and full of all the things we hadn't said. I kissed him back with equal fervor, pouring 4 years of loneliness and fear and hope into the press of our lips. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. Stay here. Don't leave for any reason. Marco will be outside your door. He's under orders to keep you and Tommy safe, no matter what. What if something goes wrong? Then Marco will get you out. There's a car downstairs, keys in it, cash in the glove box, enough to disappear if you need to. His eyes burned into mine. But it won't come to that. I promise. You can't promise that. Watch me. One last kiss, soft and lingering. Then he was gone. I spent the next 6 hours in agony. Tommy sensed my tension, growing clingy and whiny. We built block towers and read stories and played games, but my mind was elsewhere, at the docks, with Dante. Imagining 1,000 ways this could end badly. When my phone finally buzzed, I nearly dropped it. It's done. Coming home. Relief hit me so hard I had to sit down. Marcus? Alive. For now, we have an understanding. I didn't know whether to be relieved or terrified by that. Are you okay? Better now. I'll explain when I get there. An hour. That hour felt like days. I put Tommy down for his nap, paced the living room, and tried not to think about what understanding meant in Dante's world. When the door finally opened, I launched myself at him before thinking. His arms came around me immediately, holding me tight enough to hurt. You're okay. I breathed into his neck. You're okay. Did you doubt me, Piccola? But his voice was shaky, and his hands trembled slightly where they pressed against my back, every second. I pulled back to look at him, checking for injuries. There was a bruise forming on his jaw, blood on his knuckles. What happened? He led me to the couch, keeping me tucked against his side. Marcus came alone. Stupid but brave. He knew he was walking into the lion's den. What did he want? To make a deal. He returns what he stole, most of it anyway, and I let him live. In exchange, he disappears, changes his name, never contacts you or Tommy again. Dante's jaw tightened. He signed away his parental rights. Legally, Tommy is solely yours now. The words should have brought relief. Instead, I felt oddly hollow. Just like that? He just signs away his son? He was never a father, Marissa. He was a coward who abandoned you when you needed him most. His hand cupped my cheek. Tommy deserves better. And you think that's you? The question came out sharper than I intended. I think I want the chance to try. His eyes held mine, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. I know I can't replace what Tommy never had. I know I'm violent and dangerous and everything a father shouldn't be. But I also know I'd die before letting anything hurt him, before letting anything hurt you. This is insane, I whispered, but there was no heat in it. You keep saying that, because it keeps being true. I touched the bruise on his jaw gently. Did he do this? He tried to fight. I let him get one hit in. Dante's smile was grim, seemed fair, considering I was taking his family. We were never his family, no. His hand covered mine, pressing it against his face. But you could be mine, if you wanted, if you'd let me. Mama? We both froze. Tommy stood in the hallway, rubbing his eyes, his hair sticking up in every direction. "Hey, baby." "Bad dream?" I started to get up, but Dante was already moving. "Come here, Piccolo." He scooped Tommy up easily, settling him between us on the couch. "Your mama and I were just talking." "About what?" Tommy yawned, snuggling against Dante's chest with the easy trust of innocence. Dante's eyes met mine over Tommy's head, asking permission. I nodded, not sure what I was agreeing to, but knowing it was important. "About whether you'd like Mr. Dante to stay," Dante said carefully. "For a long time, maybe forever." Tommy's face lit up. "Really? You'd stay? And play cars with me every day?" "Every single day." Dante's voice was thick with emotion I'd never heard from him. "If that's okay with you." "It's super okay." Tommy turned to me, bouncing with excitement. "Mama, can he stay? Please?" I looked at Dante, this dangerous, impossible man who'd crashed into our lives and turned everything upside down, who'd protected us, claimed us, loved us in his violent, possessive way, who was looking at me now like I held his entire world in my hands. "Yeah, baby," I heard myself say. "He can stay." The smile that broke across Dante's face was blinding. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm that felt almost normal, if you ignored the armed guards and the fact that I was living with a Mafia boss. Dante moved us into his actual home, a mansion outside the city that had a yard where Tommy could play, and security that would make Fort Knox jealous. He enrolled Tommy in a private preschool that cost more per month than I used to make in 6. He bought me clothes, jewelry, things I protested until he shut me up with kisses that made my knees weak. But more than the things, he gave us time, attention, presence. He was there for breakfast every morning, teaching Tommy Italian phrases that made him giggle. He was there for bedtime stories, his deep voice turning fairy tales into epics. He was there when I woke from nightmares about Marcus returning, about losing everything, about this beautiful dream shattering. "I've got you," he'd whisper, pulling me close. Always. And slowly, terrifyingly, I started to believe him. We still hadn't slept together, not in that way. Dante seemed content to take things slow, to court me like I was something precious instead of a broke waitress he'd picked up at a diner. It made me want him more, this restraint, this careful building of something that felt real. Until the night, everything changed. I found him in his office, staring at papers with an expression that made my blood run cold. "What's wrong?" He looked up, and the fury in his eyes was terrifying. Marcus lied. He didn't return everything. He kept copies of files, information about my operations, my people, and he sold them. My stomach dropped. To who? The Morellis, a rival family. He stood, pacing like a caged animal. "They hit one of my warehouses tonight. 3 of my men are dead, and they left a message." He handed me a photo, and my hand started shaking. It was Tommy's preschool. Someone had taken it from across the street, the implication crystal clear. Oh God. "They know about you. About Tommy." Dante pulled me against him, his whole body rigid with rage. "They know you're my weakness. Then let us go. Let us disappear. We'll leave. No." The word was absolute. "No, Piccola. Running won't save you now. The only way out is through." Through what? His eyes met mine, and I saw the monster he usually kept hidden. War. Dante. They threatened my family. His hands cupped my face almost bruisingly. "They threatened you. There's no negotiation for that. Only blood, no mercy. I don't want you to start a war over us." Too late. He kissed me hard, desperately. "It started the moment I decided you were mine. Everything else is just aftermath." That night, he made love to me with desperate intensity, like he was trying to brand himself onto my soul. And I let him, clinging to him with equal fervor, knowing that tomorrow might bring an ending we couldn't survive. "I love you," I whispered against his skin. "God help me. I love you." His arms tightened around me, then "God help anyone who tries to take you from me." The war came swift and brutal. Dante moved us to a safe house in the mountains, a fortress disguised as a cabin, surrounded by his most trusted men. Tommy thought it was an adventure, excited about the vacation, with all the nice guards who let him pretend their walkie-talkies were spy equipment. I didn't have the heart to tell him we were hiding from people who wanted to hurt us. Dante came and went like a ghost, appearing at odd hours with blood on his knuckles and death in his eyes. Each time, I cleaned his wounds in silence, my hands steady, even when my heart was breaking. Each time, he held me after like I was the only thing keeping him human. "How many?" I asked one night, watching him wash someone else's blood from his hands. "Don't ask questions you don't want answered, Piccola." "I want answered. How many people have died because of us?" He turned, water still dripping from his hands. "7 of theirs. 4 of mine." His voice was flat, emotionless. "And it's not over. When will it be over?" "When I kill Vincent Morelli." He said it like he was discussing the weather. "He's the head of their family. He ordered the hit on my men. He threatened you. He dies. This ends. And if you die first," something flickered across his face. "Not fear for himself, but fear for me. He'll get you and Tommy out of the country. New identities, new life. Money enough to never worry again. I don't want money. I want you alive. Then pray. Because God knows I'm not." He pulled me against him, his face buried in my hair. "I've done terrible things, Marissa, things that would make you run if you knew the details. But I'd do them all again if it meant keeping you safe. I know what you are." I pulled back to meet his eyes. "I've always known. And I'm still here." "Why?" The word was raw, desperate. "Why stay with a monster?" "Because you're my monster." I touched his face, feeling the stubble, the warmth, the humanity he tried so hard to hide. "Because you love my son like he's yours. Because you see me. Really see me. Not just some broke waitress to use and discard. Because when you hold me, I feel safe for the first time in years. Even knowing what I'm capable of, especially knowing." I kissed him softly. "Because that capacity for violence is what's keeping us alive." He made love to me then, on the kitchen counter, desperate and claiming and full of unspoken goodbyes, because we both knew the final confrontation was coming, and one of us might not survive it. Vincent Morelli made his move on a Tuesday. They came at dawn, a coordinated attack on 3 of Dante's properties simultaneously. It was meant to draw him out, to spread his forces thin. It almost worked. I woke to Marco shaking me roughly. "We need to move, now. Tommy." "Already in the car. Come on." The next few hours were a blur of back roads and safe houses, Marco and his team moving us like chess pieces. But we all knew the truth. Eventually, we'd run out of moves. The call came while we were holed up in an apartment in the city, Tommy sleeping fitfully on the couch. "Put him on," I told Marco, my heart in my throat. "Marissa." Dante's voice was rough, strained. "Are you safe?" "For now." "Where are you?" "The old Morelli estate. Vincent agreed to meet. End this face-to-face. It's a trap." "Of course it's a trap, but it's also my only shot at ending this." He paused, and I heard gunfire in the background. "If something goes wrong," "Nothing's going wrong. You're coming back to us," my voice broke. "You promised, Dante. You promised you'd always come back." "I'm going to try, Piccola. God, I'm going to try." More gunfire, shouting. "I have to go. I love you. Tell Tommy, tell him I'm sorry I couldn't." The line went dead. I stared at the phone, ice flooding my veins. "Marco, take me to him." "No way. Boss's orders." "I don't care about his orders." I was on my feet, fury and terror making me reckless. "Take me to him, or I'll find my own way." Marco studied me for a long moment, then sighed. "You're as crazy as he is." "Fine. But the kid stays here with Roberto." 20 minutes later, we were racing through the city toward the industrial district, where the old Morelli estate sat like a rotting corpse. Marco's phone rang constantly. Updates, coordinates, casualty reports. I stopped listening after the 3rd death count. We parked 2 blocks away, the night air thick with smoke and the distant sound of gunfire. "Stay behind me," Marco ordered, handing me a gun that felt impossibly heavy in my shaking hands. "Safety's off. Point and shoot if anyone gets close. Aim for center mass. I nodded, not trusting my voice. The estate was a war zone. Bodies littered the grounds, some in suits, some in the Morelli colors. We picked our way through the carnage, following the sound of voices raised in rage. I found them in the main hall, Dante and Vincent, circling each other like wolves, both bleeding, both armed, both looking at each other with the kind of hatred that transcends reason. Your family is finished, Valentini. Vincent spat, his face twisted with rage. You've lost half your men. Your territories are being carved up as we speak. This was never about the girl. She was just the excuse I needed to finally destroy you. Then you failed. Dante's voice was cold, controlled despite the blood running down his side. Because I'm still standing, and I'm going to kill you. With what? You're bleeding out. You can barely hold that gun steady. Vincent laughed, ugly and cruel. I'm going to enjoy watching you die. And then I'm going to find that waitress and her bastard kid and... I didn't think. I just raised the gun and fired. The shot went wide, embedding in the wall behind Vincent's head. But it was enough to make both men freeze, to make Vincent turn toward me with shocked fury. You brought her here? Vincent's laugh was incredulous. Your weakness, delivered right to me? No. Dante's voice was calm, almost amused despite the circumstances. My strength. Everything happened at once. Vincent raised his gun toward me. Dante moved with the speed of desperation, tackling him. They went down in a tangle of limbs and violence. Marco was suddenly beside me, pulling me back as more of Dante's men flooded the room. The gunshot, when it came, was impossibly loud. Both men went still. For a heartbeat, the world stopped turning. Then Vincent Morelli slumped to the ground. A hole between his eyes, Dante's gun still pressed to his skull. Dante stood slowly, swaying. His hand pressed to his side where blood was seeping through his shirt at an alarming rate. His eyes found mine across the room. Told you, he said, his voice weak but triumphant. I always come back. Then his knees buckled. The hospital was a blur of sterile white and antiseptic smell. Dante's people had their own doctors, their own facilities, their own ways of handling things when regular hospitals asked too many questions. I sat beside his bed for 3 days while he drifted in and out of consciousness, holding his hand and praying to a God I wasn't sure was listening. Tommy came on the second day, climbing carefully onto the bed to curl against Dante's good side. Mr. Dante? Tommy's voice was small, scared. You gotta wake up. Mama's really sad, and I miss you. Dante's fingers twitched against mine. On the 4th day, his eyes finally opened. Piccola, he rasped, his voice rough from disuse. You idiot. I was crying and laughing at the same time. You stupid, reckless idiot. Love you too. His hand came up weakly to wipe my tears. Tommy? Fine. Safe. Worried about you. I leaned into his touch, needing the contact. Vincent? Dead. It's over. The Morellis surrendered. My people are already absorbing what's left of their operations. He shifted, wincing. We're safe, Marissa. Finally safe. Until the next threat, the next war. I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. No. He struggled to sit up, ignoring my protests. I'm done. I'm passing control to my second, keeping my finger in things but stepping back from the day-to-day violence. His eyes held mine with fierce intensity. I almost died. Almost left you and Tommy alone. I won't risk that again. You'd give up your empire? For us? I'd give up everything for you. He pulled me close, pressing his lips to my forehead. You and Tommy are my empire now. The only thing that matters. 6 months later, we stood in a small chapel surrounded by Dante's people and the few friends I'd managed to keep through all the chaos. Tommy was the ring-bearer, taking his job with adorable seriousness. Mrs. Chen cried happy tears in the front row. And Dante stood at the altar in a black suit that made him look like sin incarnate, watching me walk down the aisle like I was something precious. You sure about this? I whispered when I reached him, suddenly terrified. It's not too late to run. I've been sure since the moment I saw you drowning in that diner and wanted to save you. His hand found mine, steady and warm. You're stuck with me, Piccola, for better or worse. Mostly worse, I teased. but there were tears in my eyes. Probably. He smiled, and it was real and warm and full of the love he no longer tried to hide. But I promise you this, I will spend every day for the rest of my life proving that you made the right choice, that we're worth the risk. The ceremony was simple, the vows traditional, but when Dante kissed me, it felt like a promise written in blood and steel and something softer, something like hope. We bought a house in the suburbs with a big yard and good schools. Dante kept his word, stepping back from the violence while still maintaining enough control to keep us protected. He taught Tommy Italian and how to ride a bike. He made me breakfast in bed and loved me with the same fierce intensity he'd once reserved for war. It wasn't perfect. There were nightmares and scars, both visible and not. There were moments when the darkness in him surfaced, when I saw the monster beneath the man. But there were also morning cuddles and family dinners, and the slow, steady building of something real. One night, 2 years after our wedding, I found Dante on the back porch, staring at the stars. "What are you thinking about?" I asked, settling into his lap. That night at the diner. His arms came around me automatically. How I walked in looking for information about a traitor and walked out with my entire future. You didn't walk out with me that night. Didn't I? He kissed my temple. The moment I saw you, something in me recognized something in you. Like my soul was saying, there she is. Everything after was just inevitability. That's terrifyingly romantic. I'm a terrifying man who happens to be romantic. He turned me to face him, his expression serious. Do you regret it? Any of it? I thought about that tired, broken woman in the diner, working herself to death for pennies. I thought about the fear and chaos of the war. I thought about all the ways this could have ended badly. Then I thought about Tommy's laughter echoing through our home, about waking up every morning in Dante's arms, about being seen and loved and protected in ways I'd never imagined possible. Not for a second, I said honestly. You saved us. In every way a person can be saved. No, Piccola. His kiss was soft, reverent. You saved me. From inside, we heard Tommy calling for bedtime stories, his voice bright and happy and safe. Dante took my hand, and together we went inside to our son. Not by blood, but by choice. By love. By the family we'd built from violence and desperation and impossible hope. The diner where we'd met had closed down, replaced by something newer and shinier. I didn't miss it. That life felt like a dream now, something that had happened to someone else. This, Dante's hand in mine, Tommy's laughter, the steady rhythm of our strange, beautiful life. This was real, and I was never letting it go.